But let's move on and talk about the telecom space. We have now Mr. Peeyush Vaish, partner of telecom sector, Deloitte India, joining us to give us a perspective in terms of how the sector is headed, what are the key trends to watch out for. Peeyush, hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for ET Now. First up, let me begin by asking you about the big trend that we all are talking about for 2022, and that is the 5G auction. What kind of interest do you expect there? And as a result of that, what kind of uptick can we expect in the 5G handsets as well as hardwares?
So I think the auctions obviously will happen probably in the second or the third quarter. And I think all the operators are pretty excited about it. And I think we will see a healthy auction happening over the next 3 to 4 months. If you talk it from a smartphone perspective, today India has roughly around 750 million smartphone users in the country out of the total subscriber base of 1.1 billion. Deloitte estimates that by the year 2026, we will have 1 billion subscribers in India who will be using smartphones, which is roughly around 75% of the subscriber base by 2026. Largely, the growth in this market is going to come from the rural market, where we believe that the growth is going to happen at a CAGR of roughly around 6%, as compared to the urban market of roughly around 2.5%. But I think the most interesting aspect, which really makes this market a very, very big market for us, is the fact that Indian consumers will buy close to 1.7 billion smartphones over the next 5 years. That is roughly around $250 billion industry is going to come in over the next 5 years. I think that is what is extremely important for the Indian market.
Good afternoon, Peeyush. This is Sharla, joining in the conversation. And 1.7 billion smartphones in the next 5 years is what you're saying the Indians will go ahead and buy. Could you tell us more as to, do you think that the government is doing actually enough or is providing a conducive environment for smartphone manufacturing in India?
I think you have to look at it from two aspects. The first is that over the last few years also, we've seen a significant drop in the imports of handsets. And the imports today stand at merely $500 million a year. And I think the export has also gone up significantly. And I think today India is exporting roughly around $1.7 billion worth of handsets. The two things that the government has done over the last year and a half is the fact, one is obviously they've rolled out a PLI scheme, thereby pushing a lot of OEMs from a handset perspective to come and manufacture in India. The second thing, which I think globally everybody's been talking about, is in terms of the semiconductor shortage. India has rolled out a $10 billion incentive to really help push in a lot of manufacturing of the semiconductors or chips in India. Overall, I think India is a market which probably nobody can avoid. And I think it's time for the operators and for the handset manufacturers to start to look at it and really manufacture all the devices in India, both assembly and the component manufacturing. And I think we will see a lot of uptake coming in over the next few years.
Peeyush, I have a two-part question. One, with respect to what you're talking about, the exports going up and the fact that manufacturing in India has to ramp up. By when do you see that happening? Because it has been a slow process. We have seen the PLI schemes come in, as well as the mobile manufacturing has gone up over the last couple of years, but it hasn't reached the stage that the government is envisaging. And separately, just coming back to the point of 5G auctions, what kind of pricing are you expecting? Yes, the operators are excited, but the proof of the pudding will ultimately be in the pricing, right?
I think from a price perspective, we're not expecting any large biddings happening. I think pricing will also be based on the various strategies that the operators may have on the different bands that are going to come up in the auction. We're not expecting any significant upside on the pricing. It will probably be floating around pretty much on the base price, but it will really depend on the strategies of the operators, on the circles, the frequencies that they want to pick up, and so on and so forth. That's one. The second thing is on the handset side, I think I agree that we've had a little bit of slow pace there. But I think with the whole push around 5G services coming in, subscribers moving towards 5G handsets, subscribers moving towards handsets, which will really help push a lot of services in India. Because if you see from a rural market perspective, the growth is, as I mentioned, the growth is going to come from the rural market. And the government has done a lot to be able to push services in the rural market, whether it's been e-learning, whether it's been e-health services, whether it's been a lot of services around the entire fintech. We've had Aadhaar-enabled payment schemes coming in. The government launched the Ayushman Bharat digital mission. We've had Pradhan Mantri Gramin Digital Saksharta Abhiyan. So we've had a whole lot of services. Plus, at the same time, we've seen the fact that the government is also now committed to fiberize all the villages by 2025. And lastly, because of the fact that the PC penetration in India is low, we will see a growth happening in this market. And then the handset manufacturers will start to manufacture in India. India will be the second largest handset market in India. So hence, obviously, all the OEMs have to come and manufacture in India. There's no other option left out for them.
Right. Let me now shift focus and let's talk more about maybe Wi-Fi 6. One I wanted to understand is, do you think that it actually has a role to play in the future of home and enterprise wireless? And also, what will this mean for 5G?
See, I think, while there's been a lot of buzz around 5G in India, but I think we believe that a lot of corporates, enterprises, and homes will actually push services onto Wi-Fi 6. The fact is that Wi-Fi 6 has got a head start. It's actually compatible. It's actually backward compatible. So I think that also helps. And I think the usage of Wi-Fi 6 and 5G will really complement each other. The fact is that under Wi-Fi 6, I could get a lot of services, whether it is in-house, whether it's within the campuses, etc. I will use Wi-Fi 6. Outside the areas, I'll probably use 5G. So most of the respondents that we've surveyed have actually said that they will contribute almost 50% of their cost to Wi-Fi 6 and the balance to the 5G network. So I think both these services will continue to complement each other, and we'll see a big spending coming in of both of them over the next 3 to 4 years.
Peeyush, then we leave it at there. Thank you so much for joining us on the show and talking about the smartphone industry, also the 5G auctions, and what would all of this mean for the industry as well as a consumer. So that was Mr. Peeyush Vaish of Deloitte India. But on that note, we slip into a break on this edition of Markets at Noon. But stay tuned, more on the other side. Don't go anywhere.